Welcome to Dice Junkies, and this is Dice Junkies Presents Character Design. So basically we got a request asking us to talk about character design, background story, stuff like that. So we figured, alright, we'll do a video, because we like taking requests.
Definitely.
Makes my job easier, I don't have to think of stuff to do.
I'm lazy, and then if it sucks, we just blame the requester.
There you go. So anyway, we're going to be here. We're going to give some steps on how to do good character design. Now, this is not genre specific. D&D, Pathfinder. Character design is pretty much a global thing that doesn't really matter what system.
No, it works universally. Yeah. Some systems offer a lot more options that skip some of these steps for you, but we're talking about when you basically have to make a character from the first step to the last step.
Yeah. So we thought about it, and we're like, there's about 3 different ways you can make a character. The first is you start off with a story, and then you go into designing the character from that story you created. Now, we do that with a lot of our iconic characters. The second way is to design as you're creating, or design and do the story as you're designing the character. So you take the elements that you're going and picking, and you go ahead and adding those story elements in there.
The story is built by what the character's composed of.
Yeah. And then the last is to design and then come up with a story. So you create your character, you do all your stats, feats, all that stuff. You have a finished character, and then you sit down and you actually write a story about the character you created.
Not our most suggested method, but if you're an experienced gamer, then it is something that you can handle. Most often this is going to happen when you make a character before a game even starts. Yeah. Like you look up in D&D and you go, I really like the paladin. So you just build one, and then you later on have to work it into the story, which we're going to give you some advice on how to do.
Or when you know that the character is going to change, change a lot during the creation, and there's a lot of unpredictable
sometimes you don't know what you're going to end up with, depending on the system you're playing.
So,
like Hackmaster.
So anyway, let's start with starting with a story, and let's go to design. So, this method I know is your preferred method. So let's hear from you.
I've always found my favorite method is to come up with a complete character concept. I want to play a guy who wields fire that doesn't know where his powers came from, or I want to play a paladin who's trying to redeem himself. He once was a criminal. Now he's decided to turn over a new leaf and become a hero and a paladin. And then I will fill in this character to the best of my ability with my design. And I think it's the best way to, build a character quickly. You don't spend all day looking at every single thing. You already know what class you generally want. You already know what race you generally want, and you know what abilities you're generally aiming for. So now you're just filling in the blanks.
Now, do you think you will like this particular method more because you're a seasoned player? You already had a lot of stories. You've already had a lot of... so you have those ideas and I want to do something different. So you go ahead and create the story and then design.
It is true that I have the advantage of, if you just noticed, both of those concepts were actually fairly detailed, like not your cookie cutting board, I'm a paladin of so-and-so. Yeah. You notice that I actually had already some complexity built in. So it's a season thing. Yeah. But also it's from DMing a lot and watching players take all day to make a character because they read the book and every new page they turn to, oh, maybe I'll be a warlock. Oh, no, wait, maybe I'll be a wizard. You're going to do that, especially with some systems that are really awesome. Every new page is going to be a new cool class.
I expect that, though, from newer players. I'm expecting that. Now, it does bother me when I have a group of seasoned players and we run across those issues.
We got one of our friends, love the guy to death, but if he's not playing one of his 2 archetypical characters, and I'm going to put him out Jarek or Gaul, then his time he takes to pick a character can be very lengthy, because he'll be like, well, maybe that's what he'll say, and he'll turn the page and go, or maybe, and you're like...
I think he's gotten better about it. I actually like his mage he recently created. It's
true.
So,
well, you know why? That's because when we talked about it, he said, I want to play an extremely diverse magic focused mage. He had a whole concept. He did it step 1 style.
There you go. Now the next step is design besides story. Now this is what I would tend to suggest for newer players that don't have, because you take, especially also with a new system, you probably want to go this way as well, because some of the elements in there could change how you want to do your characters. Now,
and that's fun with Anima. That gets fun with Anima because of how the traits work.
Yeah, there is that. Now, like Hackmaster is another one that's very prone to this design because it actually implements some of your story into a randomized role. So you can't create that character.
Second and third are almost always going to happen with Hackmaster due to the fact that your roles may dictate something different.
Well, even in D&D, you have the backstory sort of element built in, which is an optional thing. Now, they suggest starting out because it does help with building up a character design.
But a big point I want to make about the second one, so we don't miss this before we move on, is the fun part about this that helps you be a better gamer is when you're designing a character. The big difference between this and the third option is that each step or choice you make, that's when you write that part of the story. When you pick your race, you decide I'm a human.
Well, the thing is, it also does speed up character creation because you take this. Okay, I'm a human. Bam, this is why I'm a human. Okay, I'm a ranger. This is why I'm a ranger.
What was it like? Why I'm a human ranger story?
Because of those human ranger aspects, now the next step becomes easier because you can use that story that you've already built to sort of answer why you've got this.
And if you go, I'm going to go with favorite terrain urban. Well, now I'm a human ranger in the city.
Yeah.
That means I probably am used to hunting people.
Yeah. But
So
you're building the story and you're building this personality as you go. So you end up having a relatively diverse character with a good personality.
But at each major decision step, you need to stop and go, why?
And you have every little thing explained on your sheet. And this is why the third one, design then story, I don't like because you tend to miss elements. Because you get this character and you go, okay, he's a human paladin, and he dual wields this axe, pole arm. Okay, let me write something down. It's more of the I don't care way almost to me.
Well, it can work, but it is challenging. Here's the key to step 3. When you do this, what you should do is look at your DM and go, this is my character I built. What's your story? How do you want to work them in? That's where this one can work well, because then the DM can fill in all those holes and go, you used to be a mercenary, you were with this band, it's a part of his campaign, you knew this person as part of the campaign. That's the only way that is ever going to be a good choice, is when you're choosing to let the DM fill in all the holes so that he can make you now a part of his setting. But that's a lot of pressure on your DM.
It is another thing though for beginners maybe to get into it. This is a possible method for that. I would not expect any seasoned gamer to use that method.
Only if they've actually want the DM to really integrate their character into the story, and they know the DM has a set story. Like, I wouldn't have minded doing that with your Dark Lords campaign. Yeah. You know, letting you just write me into your campaign however you want.
Yeah.
But again, that takes a lot of trust. You need an experienced DM and a lot of trust between the DM and the player, because the DM can get you good. We'll talk about that in the other video with that one.
Yeah, so after this video, somewhere within the next few weeks or so, we will do a Game Master's version. This is the player's version. But
character backstories for DMs and weaving it into the campaign.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically your 3 basic ways. Like I said, I think the first one from story to design is probably the most interesting way to make a very lively character and actually pick his design, his stats and stuff based off of a really complex story that's already
You also come out balanced. You don't tend to be as unbalanced because you're more concerned about meeting what you're trying to build than you are finding the best, most powerful.
But I think that, and also as you become, you start getting iconic characters. Like, I go by Xenodamus, and that's because that's one of my iconic characters from gaming. once you get those iconic characters, story to design becomes even more natural because you already have the character concepts.
So you're just building this iteration of them in the
Yeah.
system. Then you start being able to do like us, and you can build my iconic made magus or my iconic necromancer in any setting because you know the character.
Yeah, you already know the personality and all that. You're just modifying it slightly to fit in the setting. So there we go. All right, now that beep that signifies the end of the show and that Q's mommy wanted to talk to him. Thanks for watching and subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. Down in the description below, we'll have all of our links. Be sure to comment if you have any questions. We'd like to have a conversation with you, you know, any tips. Q loves to give his great knowledge on character design.
Seriously, you have any questions about game or character design? If you want a non-traditional background, like you just heard, the concept of a paladin who doesn't have the sparkling past, just tell me what you're playing, and I'll give you some ideas. And I guess I'll just go ahead and throw in, I love you, Mom.
Bye.
Love you, Mom.